Joe Hopkins here, and we're taking a look at something here, man. You've seen this guitar before. This is my Harley Benton. It's SC Custom FR. That means it's got the Floyd Rose. And I've owned it for a couple of years now. And the question, how do these Harley Bentons hold up with time, right? How do they age? And, I've owned this for a couple years, and I've played the crap out of this thing. I mean, really abused it a bit. When I'm not playing it, it's hanging up on the wall, right? So it's just out being exposed to stuff. I've taken it a couple places, traveled with it. I've got a gig bag for it, not a hard case. So I've beaten it up a bit. And how's it done? Right now, right off the bat, this guitar, I think I spent like just over $300 on it, right? Now they're about $360 for this guitar, right? This has the Roswell Alnico 5 pickups in it and the Floyd Rose. Now you can buy an SC Custom with more traditional style finish on it. You can get them without the Floyd Rose with a regular, just Gibson style bridge on it. And you can get them with all kinds of different stuff. They even make them with EMG pickups now. That costs a bit more. This guitar with EMGs is like $500. But this one with the Roswell pickup sells for about $360. And, like I said, I beat this up a bit. And it's got some battle scars on it, For instance, it's right over here by the input jack. I don't know if you can see it. Got a nice little ding in the finish there. And there's a couple other little dings. This one is the worst one. It's all the way through to the wood. The finish is actually cracked off of it. Not Harley Benton's fault. I dropped it. But, it happens when you play guitars. Now, this isn't just a review on this particular model. Although I've done a review on this model. I'll put the little thing. It's up here somewhere. Yeah, if you want to see that. This is talking about how it's aged. And to a great degree, that should carry over to pretty much any of the Harley Benton models, especially like the SC models. Give you an idea of how it holds up, especially like the gold hardware. How does it look over time? I can tell you one thing, man. The sound, it still sounds friggin' great, just like when I got it. All right, let's see. There we go. Yeah, right? That's why I got the Floyd Rose. All right, so there you go. You got an idea of how it sounds, that it still sounds pretty much like like it always did. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. That's off. So, unplug that there. Let's take a look at this thing, right? Like I said, it still sounds great. The Roswell pickups have held up wonderful. The coil splitting, never had a problem with it, although I don't use it very much. Honestly, I just like the way the humbuckers sound. The gold hardware on this thing has got some patina on it a little bit. You can see some on the pickups. Actually, that comes right off. You rub it with a little bit of a cloth. But yeah, it starts to get a little smudged up. The gold shows smudginess way easier than other types of hardware do. Same thing with the Grover tuners, although they actually do have a touch of patina on them. Just a hair, but you know, nothing that I'd really worry about. It just looks like a guitar that's been owned for a couple of years. The neck has stayed great. The action's just a hair high. It was when I got it. I still got it set up the same way as when I got it, and I've left it just a hair high because I don't mind it. I actually kind of like the way it feels. I mean, it's not super high. Just, it could be a touch lower, but I don't mind it. You know, as I've said in other videos, I play a lot of acoustic guitar. I get used to a kind of a tougher action, and a lot of times I prefer an action that's just a bit higher than that, you know, barely above the frets action that people seem to like on their electric guitars. So I don't mind that being up a little bit. And I might have actually tried to adjust it in the past if it had a regular bridge on it, but with the Floyd Rose, I just haven't really felt like messing with it. I mean, it's not like it's super hard to adjust stuff on a Floyd Rose. You know, if you know what you're doing, it's not that big a deal. I just haven't wanted to. The Floyd Rose version, you should know that, as I'm sure you could hear with me playing it there, it still works perfectly. The Floyd Rose works exactly like when I got it. Once again, because it's the gold hardware, every fingerprint and smudge just kind of stays on there unless you polish it up a little bit. So it starts to look its age, but then you take a little cloth, wipe it off a little bit, it shines it right up. And, you know, got a little red mark on there. It looks like a marker or something. Didn't come like that. Just letting you know, that's something happened at some point. This model comes with those strap locks, right? And as you can see, it's those, they unscrew. It's got a piece that unscrews. You put the strap on it and then screw it back in. And it takes a hot minute to put a strap on this guitar, but once it's on there, it ain't coming off, right? I could say with the Floyd Rose, same thing with that. It takes a hot minute to tune this thing up, but once it's in tune, it stays there pretty good. Something I really like about this finish, right? And they have this matte black with the cream binding. Well, cream, it looks like it's supposed to look aged, right? And it does. It looks pretty good. One thing about this, both they make this with and without the Floyd Rose in this this finish, this matte black, it doesn't scratch. Like usually I start to, especially without a pick guard, I get those pick scratches underneath the pickups here and sometimes even above them from playing, and this thing does not scratch. It doesn't really smudge. It holds up great. The wonderful thing about this finish is it stays new looking as long as you don't really smack it around. Even some smacks, I found it doesn't really scratch or dent that much. That one spot that I mentioned by the where I dropped it there, that's actually I dropped it hard enough or hit something hard enough, I'm not sure what happened, to actually break off a little bit of the finish. But unless you really smack it around that hard, yeah, this finish holds up great. Now, playing it as much as I have, I would expect more wear on the frets, but there really isn't much at all. You can, I could pass this off as new as far as the frets go. I mean, the fretwork on it right off the bat is excellent, and there weren't any, no fret sprouting over time, nothing, you know, kind of coming up out of it. The whole guitar, the whole neck there, frets and everything have really held up incredibly well. Which, you know, over time, especially over time, you at least get fret wear, right? I can show you the frets on this thing, and I know you can only see it just so well on the camera there, but the frets on this thing have held up incredibly well. I got to give Harley Benton, their fretwork is pretty damn good. There aren't any high frets. I haven't had to change the setup on this thing at all. I haven't had to touch the truss rod. And like I said, the action could be a touch lower, just a hair. if I really wanted to do that. But other than that, it came pretty well set up, intonated pretty well, which is all really good, honestly, on this guitar, since with the Floyd Rose tremolo, I have no interest in making a bunch of adjustments on this thing. It can be kind of a pain depending on what you're adjusting. Like to change the string height, to move the bridge up and down, you really have to take all the tension off the strings and then adjust those two little screws on either side of the bridge to bring it down, and then tune it back up, and then you're going to have to re-intonate it and all that stuff. And to do the intonation is a pain. It's not a regular adjustment. It's pretty much loosen up the that little screw right in front of where the string attaches back here, and then move it by hand. So you have to detune it, move it by hand, get it as, guess as close as you can, and then tighten it back down. I don't want to mess with that. That's part of why I haven't changed the string height, is I don't want to change anything, because it's pretty good. It came pretty good right out of the box. Now, if you have a version that doesn't have the Floyd Rose, yeah, that's a lot easier. That's adjusting string height and intonation is just like you would on a Les Paul, which you still kind of have to reduce the string tension so you can move the string out of the way to reach in and adjust it, because the adjustments are on the front of the bridge for intonation, and then tune it back up. But at least because it's an actual screw, instead of like shifting it by hand like with the Floyd Rose, because it's a screw, you can kind of guess at it a bit better, make smaller adjustments. I'm not really that big on adjusting stuff on some of these things. Some adjustments are easier than others, Like I said, this, I don't want to mess with this if I don't have to. Floyd Rose tremolos are a pain in the butt. I mostly got this guitar with a Floyd Rose because I really wanted a Floyd Rose equipped guitar, because there are things you can't do without a Floyd Rose, and I wanted one, so I got it, and I haven't really adjusted anything since. It came pretty good out of the box, and I left it that way. Which is another thing I've found with Harley Bentons, including this one. They come pretty good right out of the box. I guess they at least do a basic setup before they ship it out. But yeah, this guitar, as far as how well it's aged, this thing, if it weren't for just a couple a ding here and there and a little bit of patina on the gold hardware, you'd think it was new. Like I said, the finish has held up incredibly well. Everything feels still pretty new. Nothing's gotten loose on it. Everything works great. So, how's your SC Custom going to hold up over several years? Or, honestly, man, I've put some serious miles on this guitar in the time since I've owned it. So, yeah, I might have put 5 or 6 years worth of use on it in each year I've had it. It's not like I'm touring with it, but I use it in the studio a lot, and I take it places. I have, traveled with it. So, I mean, yeah, I've beat the crap out of this thing, and it's held up like a champ. This still plays and feels like it did right out of the box. It could probably use some new strings on it. I don't think they're the original strings, but the strings that are on here have been on here a while. Once again, Floyd Rose. I don't feel like messing with it, so it means I end up leaving strings on probably longer than I should. But what can you do? It still sounds good. And like I said, if you don't want to mess with a Floyd Rose, and you don't want to do all the fancy stuff that, Floyd Rose could do, if you're not that worried about doing dive bombs and, all the flutter, stuff like you do with the Floyd Rose, I just get a regular hardtail on the thing, just because it's easier to live with and it's easier to deal with. I have plenty of guitars that don't have tremolos on them. That's why I wanted a tremolo one. But yeah, I'd say with or without the tremolo, whatever you're looking at, these things hold up really well over time. Like I said, if you get one of the other finishes, other than the matte black, I don't think they have a Floyd Rose style. I think if you get the Floyd Rose, it has to be the matte black. But if you're not getting the Floyd Rose, they do have other finishes. I'll put a link to Thoman's website, you have to go over there and look for it. To look for their SC Custom. But the other finishes might wear differently than this one. The matte black, just like I said, has held up like a champ. It doesn't scratch. I mean, I'm shocked. I figured it would get way more beat up than it is. But no, man, that matte finish doesn't scratch, doesn't really dent, doesn't mar. You know, you don't get marks on it for the most part. It's held up way better than any finish has a right to. So that's my thoughts on how well it's held up over the last, I don't know, 2.5 years or so, 3 years, something like that. I've owned it for a while. I'd say check you out this guitar. See what other finishes they have if you like something better. If you want the EMG pickups, like I said, this version of it with the EMGs is like $500. $360 with the Roswell. Personally, I'd go with the Roswell because I don't think it's worth another $140 for EMG pickups, especially considering how good the Roswells sound. So that's just my thoughts. They're Alnico 5 pickups, the Roswells are. So I think they do have a version with cheaper pickups, but it's not the SC Custom. It might be called like the SC Vintage, I think, or something like that. So if you don't care about the pickups, or you know, or you're planning on swapping out some of the hardware anyway, you could get one of the lower priced ones. I think the main difference between them and the Custom is the hardware that's on it. I mean, this has got Grover tuners and the Alnico pickups and the Floyd Rose. Like I said, you can get a version without the Floyd Rose that still has the Grover tuners and the better pickups and all that stuff. So yeah, see what you think about that, right? Check them out. See if you want to buy one of these things. Shipping's a little high these days. I'd say check. If you're looking on Thoman's website, put something, the guitar you're looking at, in your basket and go to checkout and see what it says the shipping is. Because I can't even begin to tell you. It keeps changing these days. I mean, you know, depends on where in the world you are too. Right? I'm sure it's cheaper in Europe. I'm in the U.S. So last I checked, it was like $65 to ship a guitar here from Germany now. I don't know what to tell you. It might go down. It might change. It might be different depending on where you are. So, hey, subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my other videos. And, you know, I'll see you in the next video, man. All right? Hey, I love you guys. I really do. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.